So what is HTTP and what are the features of HTTP এইটো চাগে তোমালোকৰ clear হৈছে, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, now we will just see a brief about the working of HTTP. Okay, যোনটো যোৱাকালি হৈছিলে, but তোমালোকৰ maybe doubt থাকিব পাৰে, that's why I am repeating once. Okay, now you know the like a relationship between server and web browser, how they transmit data, how a web server and web browser transmit data between themselves. Okay, first কি করে, first the web browser request for a file to the server. Okay, like suppose I am requesting for your google.com. Okay, and after that কি করে, the server sends the file. First the server searches that file. Okay, then send the file to the web browser. Then after that the browser interprets the file and display the content or display its that contents on the screen. Okay, it was just in summary how a web browser work. Okay, so we step out some. First step is that the user the user on the client computer, first কি করে, the user which is on the client computer types types the full name including the domain name, means the domain name of the web server. Suppose wait, I just share the screen. Suppose this is browser and this is server. Okay, this is browser and this is server. This is client computer and this is a server computer. Client computer means what? A client is there. It has some applications like your Mozilla or your Google Chrome. This type of applications are installed here in this computer, and this is server. So first কি করে, the user type whatever he want, whatever he is interested in, like I want to search the google.com, so he types here in the client computer. Okay, so as soon as he type here in this client computer through the browser, and as soon as he press enter, what happens is that first the browser check in its cache whether that domain name is present there or not. Okay, if it is present there then it is fine, and but if it is not present there, what he does, he sent a request to the DNS server. Okay, he sent a request to the DNS server. Okay, he sent a request to the DNS server. So what is now DNS server? It is a domain name system or domain name server. Here all the IP address of respective domains are there. Means it is kind of a database where all the IP address of all the domains are stored there. Okay. is suppose send a request there. Suppose this is DNS. Okay. Now DNS give a response like this is the IP address of google.com. Suppose I am asking for google.com and this is the IP address of google.com. Okay, DNS give the IP address. Now what does this browser do? DNA reply with the IP address. So now the browser make a TCP connection with that. Suppose this is actual server of google.com. So what does this browser do? This browser makes a TCP connection the the actual server. Okay. Why? Why the TCP connection is made? Because to transfer a data, TCP connection must be there. Okay. Now we have, you know that we have some 7 layers. Okay, and all the functions of these layers are different. Okay, so two times TCP work on transport layer. Okay, TCP works on transport layer and HTTP works on application layer. Okay, so what does uh, what does the browser makes? The browser makes a TCP connection with the computer, with this computer. Now once the connection is established, what what is our next step? The next step is that the client requests for web page to the web server using HTTP request. Now here is also one HTTP software is there, and here is also HTTP software is there. Okay, now what is our next step? The next step is that the client request for web page to the web server using HTTP. Means the client sent HTTP request to the web server. The client makes HTTP request HTTP request to the server. Now how the request is made? Let's see. The request is handed over the HTTP software that is running on the client machine. Here is also one HTTP software. Here is also HTTP software is there in the client side, and in the server side also HTTP software is there. Okay, so the uh, means what, the HTTP request is handed to the HTTP software. This is the HTTP software. The request is handed to the HTTP software which is running on the client machine to be transmitted to the server. Now this HTTP software which is on the client side now hands this HTTP response to the TCP, to the TCP. Okay, I will wait, remove this one. So this is a TCP connections. Okay, this is TCP connection and data is transmitted to the TCP. So this is an HTTP software. The HTTP request is handed to the HTTP software. Now this HTTP software which is on the client side now hands hands its HTTP request to this TCP software. Okay, to this TCP software. Okay, now this TCP software which is running on the client side which is running on the client side, it breaks this request into some packets. Okay, it break this request into some packets and send them over the HTTP to the web server. Okay, next, the HTTP software which is running on the server side. Here is also HTTP software is there. Here is also HTTP software is there. See, here is also HTTP software is running on the client side and HTTP software is running on the server side. And TCP software is running on the client side and TCP software is also running on the server side. Okay, now this TCP IP software which is running on the server side, what he does, he reassemble the request. Means requests are sent some packets, suppose 1, 3, 2. This type of messages are sent over the TCP to the server. So this TCP software again reassemble the packet, means arrange the packet like 1, 2, 3. Okay, like arrange the packet and means arrange the request and give it to the HTTP software that is running in the server side. Clear? Now this HTTP software which is running on the server side interpret the request like what the browser has asked for. Suppose we ask for google.com, we ask for google, or what kind of file like index file and whatever the browser has asked for, it interpret the request. Okay, it interpret the request and it requests its OS, it requests its OS uh, request its OS which is on the server side to search for that file. Okay. Now the OS which is installed in the server side, which is installed in the web server, locate that file. Okay, search that file, locate that file, and give it to the HTTP software which is running in the server side. Clear? Which is running clear. This is sorry. HTTP and this is TCP. Okay, like this way also. This is HTTP and this is TCP. Okay, so the OS on the server side search that file. Okay, then locate that file and give it to the HTTP software which is running on the server side. Clear? Up to here it is clear. So next time echo doubt থাকিব নালাগে. It should be clear. Then the HTTP software which is running in the server side now hands over this response to the TCP IP software. Why? Because the data should be transferred to the TCP. Okay, now hands this data to the TCP software. Okay, next the TCP IP software which is running in the web server, it again breaks its response, that HTTP response, into packets. Okay, and sent it over TCP to the browser. Clear? To the browser. And once all the packets have been transmitted correctly to the client, the TCP IP software which is on the server side inform Okay. um, mm, the HTTP software on the server side means, see, once all the packets have been transferred correctly to the client, it informs its HTTP software that I have transferred all the data. Okay. Next, the HTTP software which is on the client side, sorry, the TCP/IP software which is on the client side, okay, which is on the client computer, it checks for all the packets. It checks all the packets whether all the packets has received correctly or not. Okay, then he reassemble the packets. Okay, he reassemble the packets to form the original web page. Okay, next, it inform the HTTP software which is on the server side that the web page has received correctly. Okay, that the web page has received correctly. After getting this acknowledgement from the client side, the HTTP software which is running on the server side terminate the TCP connection between the server and the client. Okay, that's why HTTP is a stateless protocol. Okay, it terminate the connection. Next what happened, the TCP/IP software which is running in the client side next hands over the web page to the web browser for interpretation. And from the browser we can see the web page. It is clear? Is clear or not? Or still give a doubt, say? Is clear or not? That was all about how a browser works. Okay. Now we will just see how a server works. Okay. Now what is a web server? You know what is a web server? Web server means what? A web server consists of web pages. Okay. Now, what is a web pages? A web page is something special type of file which is written in specially what we can say designed language which is written in HTML. Okay, and its web page contains its text, graphics, sound, or anything. Okay, now what is the function of web server? What is the function of web server? In simple form, we can say the function is that the web server constantly and passively, remember the term, constantly, continuously, and passively, okay, wait for a request, wait for a request for a web page from the browser. Okay, a web server constantly and passively wait for a request. What kind of request? The request is for a web page, and from where? From the browser. Okay, and when any such request is made, or when that any request is received by the web server, what is the now what is the next function of the web server? It locate that corresponding page. Okay, it locate that page, it search that page, then it locate that page and send it to the client computer. Okay, now to to do this now, like do this means to wait constantly for a web pages. Okay, to wait constantly for web pages from the client. What does a server does? The server means every website has a server process. Means every website, to do this, every website has a server process means like this. It listen to TCP connections. Okay, it listen to TCP connection, or it listen to TCP request that is coming from different client all the time, anytime. Means a website has a server process, and that server process listen for a TCP connections or TCP request that is coming from different client at any time. And after a TCP connection is established, okay, after a TCP connection is established, then the client sent one request to the server. Okay, and then the server sent a response to the client. And after the response is given to the client, the server releases the connection, means terminates the connection. And this request and response, this means the client request to the server and server response to the client. And this request response model is governed by a protocol, or it's like what uh, it looks by a protocol, and that is known as HTTP protocol, hypertext transfer protocol. Means HTTP software means what? That HTTP software should be installed in the client side, and HTTP software is also installed in the server side. Okay, now that HTTP software which is on the client side, it prepares for the request for a web page to the web server. Again, whereas the HTTP software which is on the server side interpret the request which is sent by the client side. Okay, and prepare a response. Okay, interpret the request. Okay, and after that prepare that request and response it back to the client. The main thing is that both the client and the server computer must have HTTP software running on them. Clear? Clear or not? Clear or not? See, don't be confused with your HTTP and HTML. Okay. HTML is a request. No, sorry. Sorry. HTML is a language in which the web pages are written and stored on the server. It is a language, and HTTP is a protocol which govern what is happening between the client and the server. Means which govern the dialogue between the client and the server. Means which govern all the request and response between the client and the server. Clear? So this is all about how a web server work. And how a web server work? If you are asked for how a web server work, the web server constantly and passively wait for a request for a web pages from the browser. Okay, and when it receives that request, it locates it first searches for that request and locate the request, and after that it locate that page what the browser has asked for and send it a response to the client computer. Okay, and to do this means like what kind of that the server is passively waiting. So to do this, website has a server process. Okay, every website has a server process, and what is the working of the server process? That server process listen to TCP connection that is coming from the client. Okay, so once the connection is established, then the client and the server is ready to send data between themselves. Clear? Clear or not? Yes. Okay. So I think this is all about how a web server work. Okay. Now one thing. So any questions?